Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. I know, Tesla is an exciting investment. You may have already doubled your investment or even up tenfold. On top of that, over this decade, you might also have ambitions for a further tenfold increase. Yes, Tesla's a very exciting company. In fact, I can't think of anything like it in history. It breaks the molds of typical companies and industries. Admittedly, when I first invested in Tesla, I treated it like a typical stock or company. In fact, I was planning on putting together a portfolio of perhaps 5 stocks within time. Tesla was the first one, and likely going to be about half the portfolio. It's just the more I kept following Tesla, well, long story short, I ended up going all in on Tesla. I carried a small position in NIO around the time of their IPO until it occurred to me just how little I know about NIO, or Chinese businesses, relative to Tesla, and I closed that position and put it in Tesla. My thought at the time was I wanted to invest in EVs, and at the time, NIO was poised to be the Tesla of China. I mean, I believed in an electric future. Even before the days Tesla was even established, the EV1 had convinced me as early as the 90s, but I thought the consumers alone would be enough to create the industry. Instead, it ended up taking Elon Musk. He was the required element to be smart and hardworking enough to actually create a path to making a company that will one day be able to make an EV at an average price point and with a profit. I don't think anyone realized quite what was required, but this didn't deter Tesla or Elon. The electric car didn't just happen, it had to be reinvented into a product that will be affordable enough to consumers and produced with elements that are abundant enough within the Earth's crust. And even after this, it still wasn't until the 4th generation of vehicle to launch until Tesla really became profitable. It still took about 17 years for Tesla to get that far. 17 years is a long journey. It's a big commitment to ask from investors before seeing any profits. It was just that hard to invent the mass-produced electric car. So much so now that to this date, no one else can yet make them at a profit. However, most of these other companies, they don't have nearly 2 decades of experience behind them. They haven't trained for their sport, and they're starting in the deep end. Alright, anyway, Tesla is a great EV company and has been a good investment. This is due to Elon working so hard to keep this company going. Tesla would not be the company it is today without Elon. Because of Elon, my Tesla stock are worth significantly more than they were. But alright, he may be viewed as a wild card, but he seems to be an intelligent, benevolent human who is working very hard to maintain humanity, doing whatever it takes. Humanity is dependent on a solid democracy in order to avoid the likes of World War III. Elon believes the woke mind virus will destroy civilization and humanity as we lose freedom of speech and eventually democracy, and we may not reach Mars in time as a result. So you can bet he's going to do something about it. Elon uses first principles thinking. Well, his first principles thinking isn't build an EV company called Tesla, it's save the world by preventing climate change and keeping civilization intact and peaceful and with a backup just in case. Tesla's just a cog in the greater wheel. Sure, it's Elon's baby, and he loves his Teslas too. Elon sees Twitter as the platform ideal for the most objective style of debates, where both sides can express their opinions and hopefully listen to each other and hear each other out. I think people are different on social media these days. I feel like in the old days, everyone just used to throw comments down like they were facts, just to support any confirmation bias that was potentially supported by some fake news. It's like through all this we've become a little wiser and don't just fall for anything we see online now, but want to fact check it ourselves. The woke movement has hopefully at least given people more consideration and empathy about others' feelings, and as a result, comments tend to be less of an attack, but more of an education, with people replying to comments like, "Actually, that's been disproven. You can check the latest research at," compared to just throwing insults at someone who may have misunderstood something somewhere. Perhaps this may not be the same for the 2 extremes of the left and right yet. Some of us are perhaps starting to realize that maybe the other side isn't the enemy. Perhaps they do have some points that are worth listening to. The more we accept and take in arguments to the contrary, the more we can evolve. The problem is it's tough to save face when you've publicly written something to be incorrect, which means that in the first place, to avoid having to try and save face, we become more considerate in our initial comments and fact check them first in case we're publicly humiliated about our ignorance on a certain matter. There are a lot of people in the middle who don't have as extreme views. Through a free speech platform, they would get to hear from both sides of the arguments, rather than being in an echo chamber reinforcing biases and thus being complacent to bother researching further if no one is there to question them. I remember on Facebook I would argue against Tesla short sellers, and if I hadn't put up a good enough argument, perhaps it would have deterred other investors who were unsure at the time whether to invest. At the same time, I was happy to hear from the short sellers too. I didn't want to be closed-minded and complacent. These people were putting their money where their mouth is. I wanted to know if there was something I missed. but there never was. Who knows, perhaps there'll be some sort of credibility score with Twitter that shows certain people have more authority on a subject matter than others. I don't know, but when you start to think about it, you realise just how neglected Twitter actually is, and how much more it could become. And who knows what visions and ideas Elon has for it too. And it's not just Twitter, it's everything. We have a person in the world who, it would appear, is actually trying to fight the status quo, the establishment, the government, and reorganise it all in a way that is better for the people. Taking away the power of the oil oligarchies due to electric cars and solar and battery, decentralising massive amounts of wealth. When wealth is centralised, the wealth that is being hoarded would have been significantly more if it was spread evenly into the nation, and not to suppress innovation. That's the difference between Norway and Saudi Arabia, both oil-rich nations, one owned by a family, the other a democracy. And it proliferates further into the economy, using solar, the free energy from the sun, to power the world, nothing needing to be burnt. Not even any water boiled. If you have free energy that delivers itself to you every day, then we start to approach abundance. And Tesla is a large part of all of this. Elon is making cars that can run on sunlight. That's literally what they can do. Not only that, they can run by themselves. Again, this will reduce costs so much. No driver, no fuel. Transportation for everything will become so much cheaper. So energy to our houses reduces in cost, and all the food we buy costs less, because the transportation costs are reduced. You might call this deflation, but I don't think that is the right word, as deflation would also reduce the markets. This would certainly stimulate the markets. I think we can label it abundance. Maybe Tesla is able to reduce shipping costs so much that even BYD are able to make a profit from their EVs. And it goes even further than that. Eventually we can potentially live in total luxury, with not only a built-in chauffeur with your car, but also a live-in maid to do all your cleaning, washing, cooking, gardening, and likely a whole lot more. It's like Elon is trying to envision a realistic utopia and make it come into fruition as best as possible, in the hope that there is a sustainable society and humanity will be better off long after Elon has gone. And then Neuralink, technology so powerful even quadriplegics maybe have a chance to walk again. And then Starlink with ubiquitous internet for the world. So I'm sorry if you're upset you invested in a company with a CEO that brings so much drama. But really, how much less exciting would the world be right now if it wasn't for Elon? Just imagine it. Probably not too much to look forward to. I know you might just focus on the value of your Tesla shares, and it may be harder to see past the losses for some of you, but this future that Elon is carving out for us is far more exciting than Tesla hitting $10,000. Elon is doing it to better humanity, and it will hurt him, but he will do it anyway. I also think that if he can handle this much more drama, then Tesla is likely in good hands. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.